guys, welcome to Mama's Studio. It's Antoinette here. In this video I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be doing the expat tag, and I saw this tag last week on my friend Nicolas' channel, and she's a British expat currently living in Thailand, and I thought it was just an awesome tag. And since I've been an expat for the last 7.5 years, I thought it would be a perfect tag for me to do. Okay, I'm going to get straight into it. The first question is, where is your home country? And my home country is the beautiful New Zealand, and I was born and raised in New Zealand. So the next question is, where do you currently live? And I currently live in Germany, in Bavaria, Germany, which is south of Germany. And I'm not going to say exactly where I live for privacy reasons, but yeah, Bavaria, south of Germany. Okay, so the next question is, what was the easiest part of adjusting to your new country? And that's a really nice question to start off with. And I would have to say the easiest part of adjusting to Germany was the fact that I had moved over with a guy that I was totally in love with. That was Rob, who is my husband right now, and he was my boyfriend at the time. And so this is looking back 7.5 years ago. But yeah, that definitely helped me to adjust faster than I probably would have if I was on my own in Germany. But also another thing that really helped me feel welcome in Germany was the fact that Rob's whole family just welcomed me with open arms. And it was quite a funny situation because I could not speak a word of German at the time. They could hardly speak any English, basically none, and his sister is 100% deaf, so I could not communicate with any of them. And yeah, it was really difficult, but we kind of made a bit of a joke of it, and we just tried to communicate with hands and feet. And so thankfully right now we can communicate really well. I can speak German and I can write to my sister-in-law in German, and that's how we communicate. Now, looking back now, it's so funny because I'm just thinking, what on earth would they have thought their son bringing over this like random girl from New Zealand who, you know, they couldn't speak with. And I don't know what they were thinking. But they were amazing, and they were so lovely to me. So that definitely helped in my transition and making me feel welcome in Germany. Okay, the next question is, what was the hardest part of adjusting to a new country? Okay. There were a lot of hard parts. It definitely wasn't an easy transition. And I would say, without doubt, the hardest part was the language barrier. That's kind of the most obvious difference between the two countries. But the German language, yes, it's a hard one. And I really struggled at the beginning. Actually, at the very beginning, it wasn't so much of a problem because I was kind of in the honeymoon stage of moving to a new country. Everything was new and exciting, and this new language, and it sounded wonderful to me. And it was kind of when reality hit a little bit a few months later that I realized, whoa, okay, I'm gonna have to learn this language if I'm gonna, get by in Germany. So definitely the hardest part was tackling the German language. In the beginning, I really struggled with the fact that I couldn't express myself in the way that I would normally express myself. I felt like I couldn't let my personality shine through. It's just learning a new language from scratch it's just a very unique experience. It's like nothing I've ever experienced in my life. You go from being, confident in your mother tongue to being like really vulnerable like a child, starting from scratch again. And you have to make a fool of yourself. You have to look stupid to actually make any progress with learning a language. And that is something that I found so hard, and just to get out of my comfort zone and not be afraid of looking like an idiot when I was trying to learn German. And yeah, it definitely was a slow start. But I'm finally at the point where I really don't care what anyone thinks of me. So along with other things like being homesick and cultural differences and things like that, I would say having to learn the German language was definitely the hardest part of adjusting to Germany. Okay, so the next question, I think it's a really good question. Describe the moment where you finally felt like you belonged. This is an interesting one because I think I've lived in Germany for a long time now, and I don't think I will ever truly feel like I belong in Germany. And I'm not saying that in necessarily a bad way, but as an expat, I feel like part of my heart will always be in New Zealand. And the same goes for if we ever move to New Zealand, or when we move to New Zealand. I think that I will never truly feel like I belong in New Zealand because a part of my heart will always be in Germany, and that's like the price that you have to pay for loving two countries and living and experiencing two different cultures. And it's something that I think only an expat can really understand, somebody that's lived in a country that's not the country of birth for a long period of time. And it's quite interesting. I feel like instead of like belonging in one particular country, I think of myself more as a citizen of the world. I belong in a lot of places. And the one place that I feel like I truly belong is with my husband Rob and my little girl Amelia. And it doesn't matter where we are in the world, if I'm with them, that's home to me and that is where I belong. So I don't think one particular country, I can say I belong in one particular country. So hopefully I've answered that question. Describe the major differences, or describe the major difference between your home country and your adoptive country. Okay, so there are a lot of differences between New Zealand and Germany. And most of them, you know, the obvious one, the language, which I've already covered. I would say one of the major differences would be the people. So I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to stereotype. This is just from my own personal experience. But I would say that Germans on a whole are a lot more reserved than New Zealanders. They're not as warm, they're not as open. New Zealanders are just very casual and relaxed and just really open people. And I noticed that pretty early on when I would kind of be walking down the street and I'd give someone a smile and they'd look at me like I was crazy, like I was absolutely crazy, and I was just wondering why. And I soon learned that just people aren't as open here. And I would say after living in Germany for quite a while, I've realized that Germans, that's just a front, what they're used to. And when you get to know Germans, they're just as warm, just as open, just as lovely as New Zealanders. But they just have a front, and that's just part of the German culture. And yeah, it took me a little while to kind of get to realize that. But one thing that I really love about Germans is that a lot of them are they're very honest. What you see is what you get. Like New Zealanders, you'll say, just say you've gone somewhere for dinner, to somebody's place for dinner, and you'll say, oh, that tasted absolutely amazing, thank you so much. Oh, can I please have the recipe? And they just go on and on and on. And you know, I think it's really sweet, but sometimes it's not genuine, and it's just something that we do. In Germany, there's no kind of frills, and you know, people don't make such a big deal about things. You know, they'll say, thank you, that tasted really good, you know, and then they'll stop there. And it doesn't mean that the meal didn't taste great. But if they say that, normally if a German says that tasted really good, they mean it. And I really love that honesty. Also, that's something that I love about my husband. If he says something, I know that he means it. If he tells me I look nice, I know that he genuinely thinks that I look nice. Or, you know, something, I think that's something really great about Germans. So yeah, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, we are just people. It doesn't matter where you come from, what country you come from. There's going to be nice people, there's going to be rude people, there's going to be, we're just all humans. We have the same fears, we have the same, we have, you know, we want the best for our families, we want the best for ourselves, you know. Just some people have a different way of communicating. Have a different way of expressing themselves, and I find that fascinating, and that's what I love about different cultures and experiencing different cultures and different customs, and I find it all very, very interesting. So the next question is, what's the one thing that you said yes to in your new country that you wouldn't say yes to back home? And okay, let me think. The one thing that I said yes to in Germany that I wouldn't have said yes to back home is learning another language. And I've always dreamt of learning another language, but it was always in the too hard basket for me, as I've mentioned in some previous videos. I just never thought that I was capable of learning a second language. I just thought it was, it was too much of a hard, long process. And I would not have said yes to learning a new language if I was living in New Zealand. Not that I didn't want to, I would have loved to have spoken a different language, but it's just the work and the sacrifice that goes into learning that language that I would have said no to. And in Germany I had no choice, so had to learn German. I guess I could get by just speaking English in Germany. A lot of people speak English and speak really great English, but I decided not to, and I decided to face my fears and just try my hardest to learn this language. And yeah, that's definitely something that I just said yes to, and I decided I'm going to do it. And I would never have had that opportunity to learn a second language if I hadn't lived in Germany. So the next question is also a really good question. What's the one thing that you regret doing when you initially moved to your new country? I don't like to live my life with regrets. I think everything happens for a reason, and all of our experiences teach us something. But one thing that I would tell myself, like, if I knew what I knew now, the one thing that I would change would be the fact that I was completely scared of learning German and sounding like an idiot when I first started learning the German language. It made me cringe to think of, people thinking that I was stupid, or I just didn't like it. I didn't like that feeling. I didn't like to be out of my comfort zone. I just didn't like sounding stupid, and I just had so much trouble in the beginning pronouncing the German words. I honestly felt like to learn this language, I'm gonna have to get like some sort of operation on my tongue to get my tongue and my mouth around these words, and it was just that hard. Like, Rob would try and teach me words and I couldn't even copy him. I just couldn't do it. My vocal cords would not allow me to say these words, and the more I practiced, the better I got. And yeah, I would say one thing is I shouldn't have cared what anyone thought of me, because when it comes down to it, I know this probably sounds kind of bad, but people don't really care about you as much as you care about them. And I'm talking about strangers on the street. I should have used these strangers and this opportunity to learn German to my advantage, and who cares if they think I'm dumb, or if I sound stupid. I'm never probably going to see these people again, and I wish that I'd used more of these opportunities at the beginning to practice my German. And I think I would be even further than I am now with my German if I had had this mentality from the very beginning, to just not care what anybody thinks of me. I definitely got past that point, but it took me quite a while, definitely a couple of years, for me to get past the point of worrying what people think about me. And now I really don't care. I do have moments where I'm like, oh gosh, I said that wrong, or, but not as much anymore. I don't worry as much about what people think about me and how I sound, and probably because my German's improved a lot since then. So the very last question in the expat tag is one tip/advice to anybody wanting to move to a new country. And I think this is also a great question. And I would say that my biggest advice would be to think of this as an adventure. Don't be scared to step completely out of your comfort zone. Don't be scared to make a fool of yourself. Think of it all as a learning experience, and every time you fall or you stumble, you're learning something from that, and it's all valuable. So I think there's no better education than traveling. Also, if it's a country where they don't speak your mother tongue, be open to learning the language. It's the best way to learn a language, living in a country. There's no other better way. You can't learn a language properly just sitting in a classroom. you need to be living it. You need to be communicating with the locals, you know, with the native speakers, and just use that opportunity. Just take it. Don't be set in your ways. There's so many different ways of doing, there's so many different countries in the world and so many different types of people, so many different ways of doing things, and you may have your set values and your core kind of customs and things that you do in your country, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's the only way of doing things. So yeah, I would definitely say my biggest advice would be just to embrace the whole experience. So I'm going to be tagging Jen from 1,000 Words, and Jen is a South African who has lived in England, and she's currently living in New Zealand with her 2 boys and her husband Grant. And she is an awesome YouTuber, she is hilarious, and I would love to see you do this, Jen. I don't know whether you've already done this, but if you haven't, please do this tag. I'm so interested to see your answers. So that was it for the expat tag. I really hope you enjoyed this. I really enjoyed making this video. It's not often that I get to talk about my experiences living in Germany, so it was really fun for me. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye!